Good evening and welcome to Flat Earth United. Joining me this evening is Patricia Steer of Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. How are you doing, Patricia?
I'm doing great, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
It's a real pleasure. We've also got Martin Liedtke, Flat Earth British. How are you doing, Martin?
I am epic. Thanks, Nathan, for the invite. Hey, Patricia. Hey, Anthony.
I wouldn't be the same without you. And last but not least, we've got Anthony Riley, back from his epic camera excursion, taking pictures of the Earth with all its curvy glory. How are you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing good, man. 3 times in a week, isn't it?
Is it 3 times in 1 week?
It might be 2 weeks, but it's been in quick fire succession.
When you're hot, man. When you're hot, you're hot.
It's been a long week, man. It's been a long week. I've had to do a lot of dog walking on the beach, and it's been fab.
Awesome. I should really make some introductions. So I don't know if Patricia's met you before. So Patricia Steer, Anthony Riley, Patricia Steer.
I'm shaking hands across the pond.
Wow.
Maybe you can start there. Give us a quick roundup. I know you've just finished a hangout explaining to a lot of, well, the chat was full of globe heads when I went in, but yeah, maybe you can tell us about your hangout and your reveal of the actual photography and footage that you've taken recently, Anthony.
Well, yeah, I mean, essentially, I went up for a short few days away because we saw a bit of a bargain. I wanted to do a bit of flat Earth research because I wanted to test out a few lenses and a few bits of hardware, and just all the dots got joined together. We just ended up going for a short breakaway midweek. Just got back this afternoon, and literally I was live on the hangout with you this morning, and the cleaners were in the door ready to kick me out. It was literally, you have to leave now, and I'm like, no, I'm still recording. It was funny, but yeah, we went up there to do some hardware testing to see what we could see. Walk the dogs a lot and eat too much bad food and drink too much beer and stuff like that. And while we're up there, I got some really crazy footage, and I have no explanation for it. I couldn't show you before because I didn't have it, but I've got most of it pretty much sorted off the camera now. I can play clips throughout if you want to see some weird stuff. But essentially, it was to test to see how far we could see and to see what we could see using some serious zoom lens, and just to see what if there was anything that was anomalous with what they tell us. And there was a lot of stuff that we found that was just well, basically, it didn't support flat Earth at all initially. And it was only when I went back and got my zoom lens and I came back to the same place and did the same observation, I realized what it was I was looking at. But literally, if you only had a normal kind of camera and you went to do any observations on this particular day where I was, you'd have left absolutely believing it was the curve of the Earth because the curve calcs told you what you would see. And when you went back and when you got the evidence and you went back and you put it into the curve calcs and it matched exactly what you saw, you'd have believed it were a ball. Absolutely, you would have believed it were a ball. So I've realized that the curve calcs appear to be reverse engineering what we see optically, regardless of the curve at all, telling us it's the curve that we're seeing. And literally, it's a reflection of optically the way our eyes work. It's got nothing to do with curve at all. So obviously, I came back and I spoke to different people. I spoke to yourself. I spoke to a few flatties, a few ballers, a few flatties for a bit of perspective. And I realized that the reality was that what we think we're looking at, when you zoom right in on it and you see more of what you're looking at, you realize that your level of evidence goes right up. When your evidence goes right up, your ability to interpret that evidence totally changes. And when you consider that that may be curve, when you get more evidence and you realize it's definitely not curve, then you're put in a position of supremacy over anybody else that says curve's there at 15 or 20 or 30 miles, because you realize it isn't. Just isn't. You were just seeing other things that influences what we think based on what we see. And honestly, that curve calculator is absolutely a reflection of the way our eyes work. It's got nothing to do with the curve of the Earth.
It was amazing yesterday to see Patricia with Bling Bling BS of the ISS, and they're both P900 owners, and that conversation was the shortest conversation ever.
Yeah, Earth is flat, pretty much, when you have a P900 or you've seen other people's footage. But I wanted to know what you're talking about when it comes to the curve calculator and the creation of the curve calculator. Of course, all of these things, to me, it seems, are tricks that whoever they are, created in order to make us think we lived on a ball. Even that, the way that it's been manufactured.
Yeah. The curve calc, obviously, it's done by Midwest, and before maybe 2 weeks ago, Flat Earth Asshole started picking on him. About a week before that, I already had him on my own channel, and I was arguing with him because this standard refraction, I wanted to know, where did it come from? What's the evidence that shows that it really is a thing? Hang on, let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of that 1 sec.
Sounds like a 1970s video game, kind of.
Yeah. Well, that's
Is it?
So I challenged him on what was the evidence that he relied on that created the curvature calculator. What was the evidence of this standard refraction? And he told me that it was the stars appear to slow down as they meet the horizon. Now, I don't know if you've ever done it. You must have looked at the long exposure photography of the star trails, and you can see all the perfect concentric circles. Every single picture I've ever seen, the stars, they get bleached out by the horizon. The light pollution normally bleaches them out. So if there was any slowing down there, A, I've never seen it. B, it usually gets bleached out. And C, I'd like to know what evidence he actually had that established this point, because this is what he claims to be the authority for standard refraction. So my gut reaction was, that's not true. But I didn't want to call him out on what evidence it was, because I didn't want to get it wrong. But in my own research on these star trails, they don't appear to slow down as they get towards the horizon at all. So I thought, well, what's he getting at then? How can he be using this to explain anything? So when I did an observation recently, and basically it was over water, and in the foreground at 5 miles away, we had turbines, and the turbines we know how far away they are. We did the observation at low tide, and then repeated it in exactly the same position at high tide. And what it showed was, when you have the turbine, you had the tide of the water at one point on the shaft, on the vertical part. It was right at the bottom, and then 5 miles away, where the turbine sits, you saw the water was higher up the shaft. But there was something else in the background at 30 miles away that I was focusing on, and I hadn't realised the correlation between the turbines in the foreground against the object in the background that I was looking at. And it was only when we got home and started cross-analysing all the evidence, we realised that we had the same image at high time as we did at low tide. And when you overlay the two of them, you realise that all that's happening is, when you have the water in the foreground rising up the turbines, it's drowning out the thing in the background. So I had a challenge with a physicist on the channel about what effect would the rising tide have on a ball Earth. It didn't match the evidence that I had. He accepted it didn't match the evidence that I had. He then started making more adjustments, and I said, look, all you're doing is fudging the maths to make it match the evidence. I said, you're cheating. I said, your ball Earth maths should be right from the off, because they know this thing with precision. He said, well, we've just got to do a little bit of adjustments. But the reality was, the conclusion was, the effect on the ball Earth of the tide at high tide and at low tide was minimal. But in real life, the effects were significant, because we now had a vertical aspect to the pictures that we were looking at. So I'm thinking, standard refraction then, this isn't right, because essentially, A, there's no adjustment made for tides in the standard refraction calculation, and B, it seems to be that we're simply drowning out the thing in the background with the thing in the foreground, which we now know is the tide. So I thought, well, I'll reapply this in a different scenario. So I went up on this little jaunt and started testing a little bit more things, and I've realised that that's exactly what we're having. But today I got some more crazy evidence that made me realise. And I said to Nathan a couple of days ago, I said, Nathan, I think I may have some curve. And he was like, you won't have. Something else is going on. He said, just go and have another look. And other people said the same thing. So I went back and I got the zoom lens out, flipped it out, wired it all up, had a look, and I could see more of the same scenario. And I realised that it's not curve at all. And the evidence doesn't, but it matches the standard refraction thing. So I'm thinking, if you didn't have the zoom lens and you just had some zoom and you couldn't see the information that you needed to see to realise what was actually happening, what seems to be the case is that standard refraction is simply an optical representation of the way the eye works and nothing more. There is no curve. There is no standard refraction. It's literally the limits to our eyesight, and it's the way our eyes see. And that's all it is. It's nothing more than that.
I have an update that's not at all about flat Earth, but it is about conspiracy. And I'm not auto-hoaxing, but an event has occurred in London moments ago. Seems as if London Bridge has been...
a van attack, I got on it. Yeah.
Yeah, a van has hit a bunch of people on London Bridge in central London.
Good. I said I'd give it 3 days, and it came out in 2. That's too much. That's twice I've called it. That's really insane.
They say that the van was driven by a man traveling at about 50 miles per hour. He hit 2 people in front and 3 behind, 5 or 6 being treated for injuries, and severely injured people and that sort of thing. Now, it could be completely legit and totally real, but I mean, people do hit people. Accidents do happen.
It happened outside here, Patricia. 4 people got killed outside my house here 3 years ago.
But when it's something like a landmark, like London Bridge, that makes you...
That's the alarm that went off in my head, London Bridge.
And it could be nothing. Accidents happen on London Bridge, but that's what happens when you are a conspiracy realist.
Not the most camera centre on Earth. No, there's more cameras around that area than any other area. They would know everything that's coming in and out. Really, you pull over to check your A to Z map and they will be on you in an instant. That's how closed down that area is. I can assure you of that. So
whatever happened there is going to be legit then?
Yeah.
Probably. Not fake. Not a hoax or false flag.
No. What a handy spot though. So nobody can photograph it then if it's on a bridge because there's no buildings towering over it with hundreds of people in there with camera phones. So how handy is that?
Yeah, that's true. If you're going to do something, doing it in the most public place possible, like a Ariana Grande concert arena or on London Bridge is what you'd want to do. Twin Towers, because the chances of being caught. Here's what I've always thought. I've never shoplifted, but I've always thought shoplifting is easy if you just grab the thing and walk out like you own it. But when you have to be sneaky and look around, that's when you get caught. And if they do events in a really super public place, it's almost like nobody's paying any attention. They're paying attention to what they're doing or their cell phones.
No.
So
this is a fake, Patricia. I'm sorry. Any narrative run by, I know so. Any narrative that's run by all media outlets, identical, is a scam.
That's a sign.
So you've got Daily Express, the Daily Star, the Mirror, the Independent, the Daily Mail, and the Sky News, all running identical, and it only happened 34 minutes ago. Really?
Yeah.
Knife attack after car mounts pavement, 20 injured again, 20. No, this is just alarm bell straight away. It's an empty bridge. You can see an empty London Bridge there. Nothing happening. It's really weird.
It's immediately on Fox News. So, but then again,
it's hit the States already. Wow.
Oh, yeah, that's how I found out about it. I mean, it was.
Sorry, stupid me. Yeah,
3 minutes after it occurred, it's on Fox News. But
34 minutes, every newspaper like this.
But if you think about it as a non-conspiratorial person, that's what news is supposed to do. If it bleeds, it leads. Get that story on the front page or on the TV right away. This is our lead story. Yeah, it makes sense that that's what they'd be covering. I mean, we don't know if it's real or not, but it is of note, something to keep an eye on. Totally. Sorry that I brought this up, but I know other people are probably looking into it, and we'd be remiss in not mentioning that it's happening. Hope everyone's okay if it's legit. And if it's fake, I hope the people who bust hoaxes will be on it and tear it apart, like PK and Richie from Boston and Russian Vids and all the rest. We'll see.
Well, that grandee went into a hospital in Manchester, surprised, because there's going to be a huge benefit concert tomorrow for the people of Manchester with Coldplay and, oh God, Grundy, Katy Perry, puke.
Wow.
So she went to the hospital to visit this, and they're showing you, they're going around with the cameras, and they said this child had a serious back injury. And then they show a photograph of her with the girl sitting up with her arms around her neck, and she's doing this really posy lip thing, like so false. But this kid they just told you this girl had a back injury. Would she be sitting up having a hug? Maybe I'm wrong, but it's just, the whole thing just stinks, honest to God. This has been a massive PR operation. You should see the size of the stadium concert they got set up in such a short space. These things take months in preparation, Patricia, concerts like that, of that size, and it is huge. It's in Old Trafford.
It's hard for us YouTubers to get a hangout when we all four can be on here. Imagine getting the logistics of that together.
It is huge as well, concert.
But if you were a terrorist, somebody with a backpack bomb, what you'd do is you'd hit this one too, but you know, and I know nothing's going to happen at this one. And another thing, supposedly the backpack bomb was filled with screws and nails and pieces of metal that went into child's faces. That's what they said. And they also said that a homeless man was pulling screws out of children's faces.
With paramedics there, Patricia.
Where's the footage of the children with gouges in their faces and bandages that Ariana Grande is hugging and kissing? I don't see those, but you do see the ones with a back injury or a leg injury, but they've got a blanket covering them. It's very suspicious to me.
Very.
I didn't see any of the footage, so I'm going to ask a couple of questions about it. Were the people with missing shoes?
Yes, a few.
Oh yeah.
So there you go, folks.
I've not seen a single piece of the Ariana Grande footage. And already I know no shoes on some of the victims. People with tourniquets that have got no blood. Yeah.
Yes. Oh yes, exactly. There were the hours. I mean, minutes after it happened, a girl running with two police holding her, or looked like she was running with a tourniquet, as we call it here in the U.S., on her knee, completely blood free, and her pants ripped. You know. Boston bombing style. Of course, you know, if you did get injured, they'd have to rip your pants. But there was nothing wrong with her. It just happened moments ago. That would mean there was blood on the bandage. So, I don't know.
The universe in the chat says that's so weird. Nathan was talking vans earlier today with Haunted House. Coincidence?
I think not.
I think not. Yeah, I mean, I've just got rid of TV, and hence me saying I've not watched any of this. I mean, the only footage I've seen about it was what John Le Bon put out of the training exercise from 12 months ago. With we all knew it was dressed up as a farce, but there were some people who tuned into that and didn't, and we're all like, "Oh no, the victims." He's like, you just kind of sigh. It's disappointment in humanity when things like this happen. It really is. But that's why I've got rid of TV, because it's just poison. You know, my wife was telling me about the concert. So that's what I hear on the grapevine about this bombing, about the concert. So it's divide and conquer, unite and rule. The concert is the uniting bit. It's just typical, what is it, Hegelian dialectic.
Mm-hmm. But what's the purpose of this? To make us focus our hatred on Muslims and have more border control, more bombing. I mean, that seems to be the reason for this particular one. Other times it's for guns, but
it's deeper than that. It's more than that. They want everyone, hearts and minds. They've already got it. The British public have already won over. They've got all unity of all British cities together. They've had all these different concerts of all British cities, so they're all linking hands and all for this flag waving and nationalism. Now this is just tantamount to war. Drums banging. They want to go in and invade somewhere is what's happening, Patricia. And the last time was 9/11 for the Gulf Wars, both of them, and Afghanistan, and they're just doing the same thing again. So the next time they go and pour their troops in and a load of money into some poor nation or whatever they're up to next, that will be no problem with the British public. Nobody wants to go to war, you see. They're frightened of basically not people getting killed or their own, they're frightened of an empty pocket. Our finances being affected is the only reason. Okay.
Well, I actually think they're trying to do it to erode our own civil liberties, as they put it in America. I think that they just want to literally dominate and control us absolutely, and not allow us the freedoms that we're supposed to have in the name of security. Because I think they want to make us all fight with each other for no reason. They're hyping up a lot of aggression and hate. And if you watch it, you do get your segments of crazy people, but you get your segments of crazy people in anything, flat earth or anything. They're just literally trying to turn the people on the people so that the state can go in and control it and make themselves to be the heroes. They're creating boogeymen that don't even exist, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
They create the chaos and they bring in the order. It's exactly the dialectic at play.
Totalitarian tiptoe. I think I see that at play here. It's really scary that no one sees this, you know? I mean, we see this, of course, and we're not specially high functioning intellects or anything. Well, maybe you are, Martin, but we can see this. Why can we see this? And the regular person is out there saying things like, "Oh, I'm afraid to go to the movie theater. There could be a bombing there." And no, if there is something, it's fake. But of course, real things do happen.
Sorry to interrupt. We've got a minor flat earth celebrity, Mark Sargent, in our chat. His opening gambit was "Be afraid." Exclamation mark.
Exactly.
He just made that. He came back with a much better line, which was to say, "Flat Earth." Let's quote him properly. Let's just scroll back up and see what he exactly said. Sorry.
Really funny.
Flat Earth is the fear killer. He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong.
Yep. Very true.
All them fears are all gone that I used to have, and it's given me a whole new perspective to think about real things like where are we and real information.
Even the fear of death is gone because of flat Earth. How's that for a leap of faith? Because I just it doesn't mean about the Christian belief of heaven and all of that. I'm just talking about I know I'm more than I thought I was before flat Earth, and I know we all are more. Then we're not just what they call meat suits, and that aside from the fact of asteroids and meteors and alien invasions and these other boogeymans, and also or boogeymen, all these other these hoax events, all these other things. I'm not afraid of any of that anymore. Yes, of course, you could be at a restaurant and someone comes in with a gun and robs the place. These things could still happen, or you could be in a car accident, or that stuff can be real that happens. But these major events, no. Even after Boston bombing, that was before flat Earth for me. I was not believing in that stuff, and I think I said to a friend, and I've even said it on the air here a few times, I'll only believe one of those events is real if my own leg gets blown off. So, well, I'm not wishing it on myself, but what I'm saying is the people in Boston bombing, from what we've been able to determine, I don't mean we, I mean the others who investigate, were already, were missing limbs. So these things aren't real. And it's a fear killer. I feel so much better after flat Earth.
Me too. Hurrah for flat Earth.
It's a very useful segue for me because Jonathan Roberts, who we met at the Oxford meet, had a conversation with me. It must be knocking on for a couple of years ago now, but he detailed exactly his journey through being in perpetual fear and losing sleep over it to quite literally, he dropped me a call on Google Plus, and he didn't know how to use the software, and he saw the telephone button and just thought, well, I'll just press it, and I just answered. And he's like, oh, I didn't expect you to answer the call. I'm like, well, why did you phone me? So he just wanted to chat. So we chatted away about flat Earth for a little bit, and then ultimately speaking, he got to the point where he had a bottle of pills, and he chucked the pills over his shoulder, and he's like, I don't need them anymore. And that's because he had figured out that he's not spinning, he's not hurling through space at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Yeah. Do you know what? He stuck with it too. And I love Jonathan for that. Jonathan, he's a good brother, blessed brother.
Yeah, but flat Earth is definitely a way forward. It's not a way to sort of stop people. I mean, we've had people giving us grief over the IPS. I know he doesn't like this term, but tough raids. And if anybody's going to moan about people getting donated cash, and told that the Earth is flat, then they've got big problems. It works both ways. If the globe Earthers want to consider us ridiculous, then you haven't got a leg to stand on if you want to moan about us donating money to people and telling them the Earth's flat. It works both ways.
Yeah, I agree. The chat raids have now been, the name has been changed to sound a little more user friendly to flat Earth parties or chat parties or something, but it still doesn't change what the essential value of these things are. Is just coming in and dropping a bomb, a love bomb, as Martin would say, out of the blue on a group of unsuspecting people, giving them money with a super chat, giving them some thumbs up, spreading some flat Earth info, and exiting. And then never going back there again. Not making fun of them, not belittling them, not thumbing them down, not manipulating them to do what we want, like look into flat Earth or we'll thumbs you down. All that looks bad. As long as people stay that way, I think it's fine. And I think it's a trend and a fad, and eventually people won't do them as much anymore. But right now it's something that flat Earth is into. And as long as we keep it friendly, I think it's cool.
I went yesterday, Patricia. I went yesterday. I teamed up with Odd to sort of go and take all of the troops to go. And I thought, well, everyone's going, 500 odd of them. And I really don't want them going like last night because I had a little bit of bad feedback come at me about it, see. I thought, oh dear, first impressions. No. So just to make sure that everyone was polite and not 100 multi-thumbs downs, and basically just keep on in it. You know, tell them you're coming here in peace. Tell them you're trying to help. And just put them towards researching for themselves. Make it clear. You don't have to be rude or bombarding or threatening. You know, and it worked. Everybody was so sweet, and everybody responded in kind. You see?
Yeah, that's nice. I mean, you get, oftentimes you get back what you give out. Sometimes not the case, but generally. Somebody made a comment. I did a secret show with Mark Sargent this past Wednesday. No, the Wednesday before that. I don't remember. But anyway, when we were talking about the chat rates, it was last Wednesday, and I had IPS on, and we did talk about this, and his tack changed a little bit. And, you know, he's gone with a more friendlier approach, which is cool. Not because he was on my show, but it was what we were discussing. And I did get a comment, and I won't mention the flat earther who's left the comment on that video, but the comment said, Patricia, you're vegan. And how would you, they were anti-chat rates. How would you like if you were doing a show and all of a sudden a bunch of meat eaters and egg eaters and dairy eaters and fish eaters came into your chats and started, you know, spamming you for 5 minutes, eat meat, kill animals, eat fish, meat is delicious. And then they left. And I said, it's not the same thing at all. If flat earth is a minority, vegans are a minority. There's some crossover. There's some vegan flat earthers, generally not though. So we're dealing with the majority, which are the ball earthers. The majority of people who eat are also meat are globe believers. So his analogy didn't work for me. And it's not the same thing. We don't need, people wouldn't come into my chat and try to promote the eating of meat. Meat eating doesn't need any promotion. It's a standard default way of life, just like the globe is. So I didn't really like that comment and wrote back a very nice comment, similar to what I'm saying here. And that person is, you know, they just didn't get it. I understand not liking chat raids. Don't participate in them if you don't like them. It's not for everyone. And I do see it as a fad and a thing we're into now. Who knows what we'll be into next week, you know? Spreading.
But on the other hand, if someone was to ask the same question to me, what if someone was to come into your chat room and spam and donate you money and all those terrible things? I'd say, well, that would be wonderful if they did sod off after 5 minutes. But 2 years later, they're still here. You know, they still come in the chat, and you know, it's not like we've had a 5 minute trolling. We've had a 2 year long trolling, or I have, and other people have had longer.
Oh yeah. I mean, just people saying it's a globe as a comment, you know, that kind of comment we all have received. It's very minor trolling, but that's never gone away. So we're doing this now, and I think it's interesting. You know, hats off to Infinite Plane Society for coming up with the idea. It's created a feeling of togetherness too, weirdly enough, among this very splintered flat earth realm where people are often at each other's throats, where we all go in and do something together, especially people from different countries who will never meet. It's kind of neat. It's invigorating. You come out of it feeling like, yeah, maybe you haven't really done anything, but it makes you feel like you have. And in the end, if one or two people eventually research flat earth wins.
Yeah, we had some positive. There was one boy, I don't know whether you've seen him, he was a young English boy, only 20 years of age, and we all basically put into chat and sent him to Odd's channel, and he actually got to speak to Odd on the channel, and he said, wow, this is mind-blowing. He basically told all his people, look, if that many people are going to turn up in my chat saying the earth is flat, I'm afraid I'm going to have to look into it, okay? You know, they can't all be fools. And he literally said, I'm definitely going to look into this. Thanks anyway. That was really brilliant. Thanks for the multi-thumbs up. And off you went. 100% success on that one, I would say.
That's the best way to get rid of us.
No, he was really nice, actually. He was.
No, but I'm just being, I'm being dead serious. You know, if he's absolutely right. If enough people have got the inclination to go along to a random person's chat because they're playing Minecraft and go, do you realise you've been entirely deceived? It's like, I absolutely believe that. I'm not doing it to troll. I'm doing it because I see it as a service to them. I see it as me waking them up. Now, people might bang their, you know, whatevers and go, that's just nonsense, you know, you're telling lies. We get that all day anyway. It's like, for the one guy that might actually research it, if he researches it and goes, you know what, It's absolutely a globe. I've looked at it. I've been through the flat Earth stuff. You go, well, good for you. It's confirmed what was a belief for you before. Now you feel like you've confirmed it. That won't be the case. They'll come along, they'll look, and they'll see what we see because it's there for everyone to see. It's out my window every day of my life.
I agree, but some people feel they've researched flat Earth, like Bill Nye, and they say things like, well, it can't be flat. Ships go over the horizon, proving that he hasn't researched flat Earth. But he says that on a massive platform, indoctrinating people who now will never look into it because, well, Bill Nye said ships go over the horizon, the curve of the Earth. So, it must be true because I saw it on TV.
Is it true that Neil deGrasse Tyson didn't actually know the the curvature drop? You know, the 8 inches per mile squared.
I think that is true.
That's fantastic.
But then again, I hate to say it, but why would he need to know that? No one's really talked about curve calculations, I think, till we came along. I don't remember it even ever being discussed back when I thought I lived on a globe.
Yeah, well, and he's a theoretical physicist.
Right, but it's wrong, isn't it? You're right. Why would an astrophysicist need to know about the curve calculation? Exactly. But on the other hand, how wrong is that? He knows about the outgassing on Titan, but he doesn't know about the curve calculation.
Yeah, it's funny. Who would need to know about it would be surveyors, people who build things, architects. They would need to know.
They don't bother looking at it. It's nominal.
They don't. Yeah, they don't need to use it. So, and everything's built as if we live on a flat plane because guess what? We do.
Yeah. So sweet, guys. I'm
going to bring it over to the namesake of this, the title of this hangout. So this is about UK Mixer. And so far I've been out to all over the place. I've met Martin in Cardiff, met in Oxford, we went to Hereford, all over the place. Leicester for the space meet, that was the most recent. That was good fun. But the one that I want to do next, I don't know when, hopefully we'll figure that out by the end of this show, but where I definitely do know, and I only decided this today, where it's going to be is here in Leamington, Royal Leamington Spa, Warwickshire. Because, and this is kind of why I live here, or lived in kind of past tense, when I was a rep, it was extremely handy to get anywhere in a couple of hours in England. Scotland aside, this is the most central point, so it makes sense. It's easy commuter hour from London on the train, probably less. So it's a super easy place to get to, and the train station's like 10 seconds from a very, very, very pretty park. And because it's a spa town, it's pretty. There's lots of cheap pubs to eat in and expensive pubs to eat in, so there's all and sundry for everybody if it rains. But there's a really pretty park to have a nice picnic in, which is what I'm intending to do. Now, originally my wife had said something along the lines of, why don't you hold it on a big hill, which initially I thought was a wonderful idea because it was pre Anthony Riley. So it seemed like a great idea to do something like that. However, I've always envisaged these meets, and Patricia, I'm sure you'll be able to speak to this, it's kind of flat earth. It's about the social side of it more than it is about doing any experimentation. And wonderful, I'm sure there'll be other events like the Bedford Level experiment, which will happen. And hopefully, people like Anthony will perhaps do events that are more scientific, but that's not what this is about. This is more about, and this is why I like it, it's about me as a YouTuber. It's about us and the social side of actually showing to the people at large that this is a bit of a facade. We are just regular people, and people who have met us to date, Martin and myself, and indeed Patricia, will attest to this. We're just regular folk. That said, maybe this is where I shall lead the conversation next. Some people meet you and are very pleasant and endearing in person, and then very quickly turn against you afterwards. Don't know if we want to talk about that here, but maybe we do. Who knows? But yeah, so just around that little blurb out, where we will be meeting is here, Warwickshire, because it's where I live and I've travelled out, but it's a nice place. It's a good spot to meet. Plus, if nobody comes, I can just go and have a pint and then go home.
I saw when you did your video around the holiday time when you had the the lights in Leamington Spa being turned on for Christmas. And it was very charming and very pretty. And it looks like a really nice town. So when are you thinking of doing it? Because the reason that I'm on here is I was thinking I might want to come. Now, I went to the Oxford meetup back in June of 2016. And that was an awesome event. Some events that came after it may not have been so great for me, but I'm still willing to go to another event in the UK.
Yes, that would be epic, Patricia. That would be so cool.
So do you know when you're planning on doing it?
Well, that's exactly why you're here, because I mean, I put out feelers for a few people to get in touch and say, if you're keen, come on. And you and Martin got in touch, and so did Anthony. So that's why you're here. So really, you know, we're kind of the co-organisers now. So it's kind of down to us to figure out when. I'm happy to say where and just put my stamp on that and step back and go whenever. You know, I think the day ideally would be a Saturday, because everyone's generally free on a Saturday. So yes, I think a Saturday sometime between now and a couple of months' time, any time in between, whenever suits you as you're here, because you're travelling the furthest. So it might be the case that we work the dates around you, Patricia. I'm more than happy to hand when over to you.
Okay, so that's not really fair. I want everybody to be a part of it, plus the people that you might be wanting to invite. My concern is just one person, but I am going to my niece's wedding, which is in the end of August, and I'm having a flat earth mixer of my own, which will be flat earth bowling, which is going to be fun in Michigan. I'm going to be in Michigan for my niece's wedding anyway, so I figured I'd use the opportunity to reach out to Michiganders, because I lived there for high school years, and so I'm going to be doing that in August. But September I'll be free as well, so I might be free in July. But this month, June, I'm actually going to Michigan at the end of this month. I'm throwing my niece a pre-wedding brunch for all the girls. So 2 Michigan trips.
Should we say July?
Yeah, I'm good with that, definitely.
I think, but I leave it to everyone else. I would say July or September. But July at least will be warm. September might be where you are.
September, you've got the conference coming up. You'll be prepping for that, surely.
Right. Well, that's still a ways. That's in November. So I'm saying July, cool. September, cool. Or whenever. The other people. What do you think, Anthony?
Do you need to have your passport to get to Leamington Spa?
Oh, you might.
Yes, you do, yes.
You're never going to please everybody with no matter what arrangements you make. I think you're better off. Just make your arrangements, stick to it, and don't change it no matter what. It is what it is. If people can go, want to go, they'll go. So
I'll go. And people turn up in the summer, definitely.
There was a bunch of people at the Oxford one, and you know, Nathan, you were basically the one who put that together, and a really good crowd showed up, and fun was had by all. The scenery was pretty. The weather was lovely. That was June. I don't know UK weather as well as I know American weather. I don't know if you guys heard about 5 minutes ago. I'm in Houston, Texas. Massive thunder rolling outside. It sounded like what you would call 10-pin bowling. We just call bowling. A ball being thrown down a wooden lane. I'm like, can you hear that? I guess my mic's not that sensitive. So, but it's pretty cool. I love thunderstorms.
Me too.
It's nice. So you set it up before, Nathan, and you did a great job putting it together, and contingency plan for going to a pub, and people came and brought their food and shared, and it was cool. So pretty much a similar thing, a social event.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I didn't like about Oxford, and it was good and it was bad, was that we had to walk some distance from the meeting spot to where we actually went, which is why I thought, you know, everything I wanted about where I wanted was kind of contained here, because if you're on the train, you get off the train, you walk, I don't know, 100 yards, round a few bends, you know, 2 turns, and then there's a massive church and a park, and it's all very pretty, lots of white buildings. But by the park, there's like 24 pubs and restaurants and, you know, everything else, should it rain. And there's, you know, various other things in the local vicinity. You know, if people get bored after an hour, there's various other things like Warwick Castle and lots of other touristy type attractions that people can disappear to afterwards. Same with Kenilworth. In other words, within a couple of miles of the location, there's other things to do if people get bored of just talking flat earth in a park. But I think from going by Oxford, that was actually the nicest part. So we met up at the Radford Camera. Is that right? I think I'm saying that right. Yeah. And then we walked down through Oxford to the river. And when we got there, we sat down and had a picnic. And that was the nicest bit. We were by a river, which is the same in Leamington. There's a river that runs through the park. It's just very picturesque. But that's the nicest bit. The actual sitting down, just having a drink and talking to people was the nicest.
I liked the walk. I did. I liked the walk. You got a chance to talk to everybody. And I love the walk anyway. You don't get the chance to see the scenery if you're in one place. I like to see the town, I mean. I've always done that. And I love a walk anyway. So for me, I love that bit.
You made the news, didn't you, afterwards? You made the BBC News.
Yeah, I did. Flat Earth, I guess everyone lost. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It was pretty walking through the area there. I'm glad I went. I'd only seen Oxford before in movies, being an American, and I've been to the UK before that trip, but also on the TV show Morse, Inspector Morse, yeah, which I love. And there I am. Although where Morse was filmed wasn't exactly like all the buildings they said were certain buildings weren't those buildings. Of course, that's how always movies and film TV shows are done. They'll use one place and say it's a conference hall, but really it's not. It's a restaurant. So, but still, it was beautiful, just like I've seen on TV.
Yeah, it was beautiful, all right. The architecture was sublime and so old as well. And Leamington's a similar architecture. It's like with this, not Cotswold stone, it's a similar stone, Bath stone, and everything's made in the same colour. Everything is so ornate and beautiful there. I've seen it. It's beautiful.
Why is it called Leamington Spa? Now in the
it was States, Royal Leamington Spa.
Royal Leamington. Why spa? In the United States, the spas where you get like your nails done.
They got a Roman spa.
Yeah, there is literally a spa like you envisage a spa to be. That's what's here. There's a spa. So again, it's opposite the Royal Jefferson Gardens. The park that's here is a museum, and it's called the Royal Pump Rooms, and it's free. Again, that's another cool thing about the town. Quite a lot of it's free. There's like a nice tropical greenhouse that's at the end of the park. Again, it's free. But in the museum, you can wander around and you can actually go in and see, as part of the museum is the actual spa itself. And you can see like all sorts of Victorian craziness in terms of the medical stuff that they used to do there. Like, should I say this, like vibrating dildos that they would use medically and things of that nature. It's there all on display.
I want to go.
Medically, they used all sorts of things, even into the 50s and 60s for women medically, but there were just a bunch of creepy perverts wanting to use these devices on women and said it was for their health. Hilarious.
That's all it was.
You said the pump room. I lived in Michigan, as I mentioned earlier, for part of my childhood, 2 different parts of it. And there was a restaurant in Chicago, which was Chicago, Illinois is 2 hours outside of Kalamazoo, Michigan. It's a different state, but not that far. There's a restaurant in Chicago called the Pump Room. Now I understand that name is taken from England. Most American things that sound slightly posh are taken from England, it seems. What's Pump Room mean?
Well, in Britain, I've got a pump room on my river, and it's just basically the one I've got is a giant Victorian one. I actually worked on it for quite some time. Repointed the building, laid the car park. It was to divert the sewerage, to pump the sewerage, basically, out of this basically salination tanks, these giant round things, which just lays on stones, and then they pump it through into before it went into the River Taff.
That doesn't sound posh, but when you say, I'm going to dine at the Pump Room in the Ambassador Hotel in Chicago.
Yeah, they got ones that bring the water in as well, the fresh water, Victorian pumps. And it just turbines. They just bring it in like that. They're just giant wheels, and they just turn the water and push and bring it in like that. And they got them. They're giant, the ones in my city. There's one left as well you can visit. Same as Nathan's pump house. They're all over Britain, Victorian pump houses.
Yeah, we've got other things as well. I got like an elephant's causeway where they used to have the elephants that would take the merchandise, they'd take them down into the river to bath the elephants. So they had this very heavy duty cobbled path that goes all the way down to the river. So obviously the river is quite, unless it overflows, but generally it's quite low. And there's this path that literally leads all the way down to the to the bottom, so you can actually, if you wanted to, you could walk into the river yourself. Not that you would, but yeah, there's just all sorts of little things like that that are dotted around within, like I say, 2 minutes walk of where I intend us to be.
Is this park, Nathan, where these butterflies will land on you, like you went?
Yeah, that's in Stratford-upon-Avon. That was, I used to live that when I went to college. I lived in Stratford-upon-Avon, so I know all the touristy bits there. But the problem with Stratford is it's too touristy. It's a bit like Oxford in terms of how busy it is. I mean, Leamington's busy.
Yeah, that's busy. No, I don't fancy that. No, Leamington sounds awesome. It really does. And like you say, it's a centre, a really easy place to get. It's bang in the centre, isn't it, of England? So it's really easy for me to get to. It's really easy for anyone from London or up north. That's actually a really perfect location, I think.
I totally agree. A bit difficult for me, but hopefully someone will pay my cab fare or something.
All right. You get the best deal, but whatever.
So July is when you're probably going to do it then, right?
Yeah, for sure. We'll just say July. I mean, we've got 4 Saturdays that we can pick from. We've got, let's have a look.
I'm going to look at tickets and accommodations and stuff.
We've got the 8th, the 15th, 22nd, and the 29th. Should we just pick one arbitrarily? Just say 15th?
How about no? Only based on me. I hate being selfish because let me check and see if there's even flights. Like me. Not that it's all about me because, whatever. But
no, you've got to be whatever you need, Patricia. It's best.
Well, I just mean that since we don't really need to pick today, let's pick tomorrow. But yeah. Just
no,
because
I agree with that. That's cool. But yeah, any of those, it will be one of the following: 8th, 15th,
July.
22nd, or 29th of July 2017, in case this is being watched. And it was a year ago and we're all dead because we've been wiped out in the nuclear.
I always say in my show, anytime I'm talking about a today or a tomorrow, I always try to say, as of the recording of this show, June 3rd, 2017, for the exact same reason, except for the dead part, in case somebody's watching this in a year from now, so that they're not going to know tomorrow I'm having a show when tomorrow wouldn't be the case. So you've got a lot of people.
When you're old and got thousands of hours of you on the internet, thousands of hours of you, that is one glorious thing. Think of that.
True, but the way they're doing it now, they're talking about that neural lace thing that will have technology injected into your jugular vein or something. So you'll just be able to watch all those ancient videos on YouTube with those flat earthers. Because we'll all be flat earthers. And we won't call ourselves flat earthers anymore. We'll just be people back like how we used to be, because everyone will know. And people will watch us and say, oh my gosh, what's that weird microphone thing? We don't have those anymore. Our voices can be, because of transhumanism, our voices now can just be raised and lowered because we've got that app built into our bodies. Sadly,
they'll have a reset with a calendar. Instead of AD and BCE, they'll have like BG before globe, before flat plane, and then it'll be AF after flat plane. AFP. They'll have a new reset with a calendar. Can't keep going on with this when it's made up.
I was going to say that would be something I'd definitely want to see changed. I'd want to see a 13-month calendar introduced so that we could start getting a bit more back to nature and appreciating how time actually elapses based on the physical clock in the sky, which is what we've got. And we don't observe the clock in the sky anymore. We observe the what's the calendar called? Is it I was going to say Gregorian, but is that right?
Yeah, the Gregorian. That replaced the Julian calendar.
Oh, I was right. Oh, hey, happy days. Yeah, the Gregorian calendar, your 12-month calendar, and for some reason 13 is ridiculed as unlucky, and it's like, well, hold on a second, we've got 13 lunar cycles. What's the issue? We've got a great tracking device for months up there. Why do we ignore it? But there we go. That would be something I would want to change going forward in Flat Earth. That would be my. that was where I was going to go. Sorry, just popped back into my head because I said about death. And a few flat earthers have said this on a few shows where, I'm not suicidal. I'm not, if anybody sees me disappear and all this sort of stuff. Well, I'm not going to say any of that kind of nonsense because I don't think it's ever going to happen, frankly. But should I die tomorrow, I would die very, very happy. And I can't remember on whose show this came up, but someone was saying, my parents died and I'm really quite gutted that I didn't get to tell them how the world really is. And I rejoice in the fact that I'm lucky enough to have my grandmother still alive, hanging on in there. But, I've discussed this at length with my parents. They disagree on some parts of it and agree. But the fact that I've been able to have that discord makes me very, very happy. I don't want to die tomorrow, but if I was hit by a bus, I wouldn't be dying going, oh my God, if only I'd have done this. I'm pretty content in the things I've done. I'm not worried about my bills and about the Manchester bombing and as Mark Sargent said earlier, we have been freed by flat Earth. It's a wonderful sensation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
And just if you don't want to die, just stay off London Bridge basically and avoid vans.
I won't want to copyright you, Nathan.
What is it? Is it on the news?
Yeah, it's not looking good at all.
Poison, mate. Just chuck it out the window, your TV.
I know. It's not mine. She watches it. I don't watch it. It's just
right.
I got this wall here. I can't see it. I guess you don't have to buy a license, Nathan, no?
No, I cancelled my license
Yes.
a little under a month ago. It officially ends. So technically, I could watch. Not that I can, but if I had a TV, I could watch it. If you know what I mean. But in 3 days' time. So my TV license, it was surprisingly easy. And to be perfectly honest, I remember it being easy last time. Well, not so easy, but easy-ish. I had to jump through a couple of hoops. This time, no hoops. They said just, if you download anything from iTunes, iPlayer, then you'll get fined £1,000 if you're caught. Don't watch any TV, £1,000 fine if you're caught. That's it. Your TV license ends. They offered to send me a refund for the time not used. So I was like, okay, yeah, great. Send it.
We don't have licensing like that here in the States at all.
Just pay for the BBC, Patricia, and that is it. That's all it pays for. It's just one channel. Yeah, we got all them hundreds.
No, it's two. It's BBC Two as well.
Oh yeah, and all BBC, network. Yeah.
The main benefit is that we don't get loads of adverts. You guys get adverts galore.
This is true.
Oh yeah.
This is true. I've been in hotels in London before where there's TV. Somebody I've been with, an ex-boyfriend in the Matrix would watch, turn the TV on, and I did notice that. I remember before Flat Earth, you have a lot less commercials here.
Yeah.
Funny. And
you can get indoctrinated and brainwashed without the interruption of any sort of commercial enterprise. Wonderful.
Exactly.
The Globe, sponsored by Satan.
and you don't know what's more brainwashing, the adverts or advertisements, as we call them, or the shows themselves. It's a toss-up sometimes.
Both is bad.
Yeah.
I feel slightly dirty though. At the beginning of this show, we were talking about it. I'm trying to escape it, and I honestly believe that it's we are part of the problem when we discuss it. We should.
Yes.
It's a psychopathic control system, and the way to deal with anything psychopathic never changes.
Right.
No
contact. But
You're right.
I was the one who saw that come up on my internet. Not on my phone, that said the thing about London, and decided to read it. But the part of my mind said, ignore it. It's part of the mainstream. But for some reason, I felt like bringing it up. I don't know why. Probably because it may be a fake event, and those are fun to look at and watch the control grid at work. But it's like it's furthering your contact with a psychopath. And so if there's a psychopath, be it on YouTube or a psychopath on your TV set, or at your office, you don't watch what they do. You don't care what they do. You unplug from what they do. You don't even discuss it. It's hard, of course, because when you see
I know why you mentioned it, Patricia, because everybody in chat was talking about it, and you pure tuned in, you see. So
yeah, they are talking about it, and I have been looking at the chat here as well. So I want to say hi to.
I understand that we're gonna have to talk about some of these subjects. They are current events, so
right.
don't want to feel like I'm knocking you. I'm not, but it's still good to actually illustrate what has just happened and how it affects us. Because going forward, I hope that genuinely does happen. I genuinely think that people should turn their back on TV completely. And no, we're taking baby steps. Maybe I'm a bit more extreme than others. But you don't have TV, do you, Patricia?
No, I don't. I have a flat screen for movies I would choose to watch on my own. They have programming in them too, but their entertainment value or informative value will trump the programming, and I'm aware of the programming, so I'm not just mindlessly watching and flipping channels. So no, I haven't had TV or TV service or internet cable, whatever you want to call it, service for years. And the only time I find myself actually watching TV is if I am in a store paying for something and they have one up there, and every time I say, how long has that been there, to the person? And they'll say, oh, we just put it in, or, oh, it's been there for 4 years. And I say, why do you have it? And they never have a real answer. It's in bars, probably because people will watch a sporting event in a bar. But it's just, I think it ruins the aesthetics of a restaurant or any sort of establishment to have a big, ugly, basically one eye there, just staring out blankly. And when you're eating with people in a social environment or at a restaurant bar, they distract you from the conversation with the real person. You can see, and you can't help it, even if you're awake like we are, your eye will drift up to the flashing lights and the movement, or a sexy woman or whatever they're showing on there, and you'll get momentarily transfixed and lose the conversation with the people that you're with. So I don't want to be in restaurants or bars or places where there's TVs. I try to avoid them. In fact, I'm kind of known among my friends for asking, yeah, I'll meet you guys there, but is there a TV there? I'm the picky one who doesn't want to go places where there's a TV. But
hang on a minute, you're a picky person with a TV and a vegan as well. Come on, that's not easy to play with.
Yeah, and a flat earther.
Hardcore flat earther.
So yeah.
I've got to ask you two about this subject, because it's something that Anthony mentions quite frequently, and it's about camera quality. I know this is changing the subject completely, but Anthony is in awe of your picture quality that you get from your camera. So can you tell us a bit about your setup, please, Patricia?
It's a MacBook Pro. I believe it's 2015 or 16, and I'm using the camera right from it. And I have this attached microphone that I bought that doesn't go with the rig, but there's nothing special about my camera. It's it's the nicest MacBook Pro of 2016, the highest whatever.
Yeah, but to be fair though, the quality of the visuals that your camera produces is way better than anybody else on a PC that I've ever seen.
Well, maybe because it's not a PC, or maybe because I'm funded by the CIA and there's really a high-tech camera crew here filming me.
So there's a fourth wall behind us that we can't see.
Yeah, I've shown people the fourth wall before. It's just
what I was trying to lead you to do, because we had this conversation just before you joined, Patricia, which was, are you subscribed to Theory Hypothesis? And Anthony's answer was no. I was like, condemn you. You should be. But he goes on and on and on about lighting and how important it is. And even if you've got a poor quality camera, you can achieve great things with good lighting.
Yes. My lighting, when I originally started on YouTube in 2015, I lived in an apartment. Now I'm in a house. And I started off my first couple shows with Stars Are Souls, actually, with no microphone. And it sounded kind of hollow and echoey.
Yeah.
Because I had wood floors and high ceilings. And I'm in a house now with wood floors and high ceilings. But my lighting there in that house was accidentally awesome. I did nothing to the lighting. I just turned on and went. And you can look back at one of my first videos. It's totally perfectly lit accidentally. Then when I moved to this house, the walls are a light gray color, and it looked horrible for some reason. And I tried using some of the same light fixtures, the same type, and it wasn't working. And I was on with Nathan on Skype, and he was helping me, like, move the light to the left, move it to the right. And we spent maybe a couple days trying to come up with the right lighting to replicate what I accidentally came up with just by having a table lamp that was near my desk in my old place. Pre-flat Earth, I had that. So I do have 3 lights here. They're not professional lights at all. They're 2 table lamps and a floor lamp.
Yeah, but it's
table lamp, floor lamp.
It's the quality of the actual picture that's dead crisp that doesn't happen anywhere else. On a different note,
but it wasn't always like that. So I remember that process, and Patricia went through, I don't know, 2 or 3 different professional lights. So she had a ring light, she had LED lights, all different sorts. They all got sent back because the ring light made her look bright purple. The LEDs on the stand made her look bright orange. It just looked horrendous. That's why it took 2 days. You know, it took a long time. And I'm not being horrible, but it still doesn't quite look as good as what it did in the apartment. It was better lit, but you know, it's good. It's just not quite as good. But that's purely down to the fact that I think you had, I don't know what your lighting situation was. I assume it was lots and lots of spots in the roof.
Yes, there were a couple spotlights in the ceiling, and where I am now, there is I don't know if this will show. It's a really cool, there's 4 spots, right? 4 spots built in, and then this really awesome light right there.
Just like 60s.
On a slightly different note, apparently there's now a 3rd incident in London in a place called Vauxhall.
Okay.
I don't know what the incident is, but the Sky News is literally reporting it right now that there's
wow.
I know London Bridge it takes you into Vauxhall.
No, but there's a separate incident, a 3rd incident.
Well, I can see it now. I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's funny because
it's gunfire as well.
Morrissey, I've got the Smiths here, has an album called Vauxhall and I. It's also a car, so
it is.
Yeah, they're saying there's gunfire now as well.
Yeah,
okay. This is something. This is something.
Let's not talk about it in the. Let's not give it any more news than it's worthy.
You bang on there, Anthony. No,
whatever it is. Let's just collectively hope that no people are being really hurt.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, whilst we're sharing all our stuff, there's my microphone. Hi, Nathan.
Oh.
It looks more like something else.
What? Oh wow, that's a cool one.
That's my microphone. To keep that slightly off because it's I'm not like you two because you two have them on display and I don't like that.
Well, it does block off my face.
To be honest, I don't like having it on display. I think it looks
love
ugly.
mine. I think mine's so cool looking. I love it.
I just have a normal desk lamp, literally just like a normal desk lamp, and just shine it.
Normal lamps too.
Just put it just behind me.
Your lighting's good.
It is good, Ant. It looks really cool. Mm-hmm.
No, that's bollocks. He's got a 4K camera that cost him 130 quid.
Yeah.
Well, is it?
No, 180 quid. It's the Brio. It's the Logitech.
180 pounds his camera cost.
It wasn't worth it. But I wanted. Do you know what it was, Patricia? I used to watch you, and I used to. Well, when I first come into Flat Earth, I don't remember what you were like originally, but I used to look at you, and I used to think, why do you look so crisp and clear, and everybody else is just looking like shit? So I used to not watch you because it was like it was camera envy. Literally, it was camera envy.
Yeah, I had that when I first came out. People saying, "How is her set? It's a stage. It's a set. It's not real. It's too perfect." And I'm like, "No, it's just it's just a studio I made out of a den, and this is a studio I made out of a bedroom. So it's an office, really."
It makes you look better than what your setup actually suggests, because it was like, how can I get that without spending a lot of money? And then I saw Logitech brought. Go on.
Well, I was saying is that I know that Martin and Nathan have met me in real life. I don't know if this is what I look like in real life or not, but I think that it's fairly representative of what I'm like in real life. But people have said, "Oh, you should see her in real life. She's a man." Well, like, okay. So if you want to believe that, please feel free. But
so you're a CIA shill and a man.
Yeah, how could that be? That's pretty intense.
So how do you address people that accuse you of being a CIA shill?
I just ignore them because they're either misled, misinformed, or nasty.
I have, it's funny because I put my videos out and they maybe say, for example, 9 minutes long, right? And before they even get to the 5th minute, there's like 3 dislikes straight away. And it's what?
Who are those?
That's standard. That's standard. YouTube will give you them.
Yeah. Yeah. I went into one chat room, right? I'm not to say which one it is, but it's a common one that most people know. And literally I was in for 3 minutes. Right, I came out with more leeches after that chat room than I've ever come out of anywhere. It was horrendous. I obviously never went back.
Interesting. Leeches. Yeah, I see what you're saying. They find you, they
Yes.
troll you, and then they follow you to your home. And
Yeah.
you're like, get off me.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah. Dina.
I'm going to use this as a segue, why not? So the reason I got on Tim Osman, in quotes, case was because of him exposing where you lived. So back when you were in the apartment, he doxed you in your chat, and I was so furious at him doing that I just went after him. I mean, it's now reached a point where we've kind of got to what I'd call stalemate. It doesn't seem to... There's no gain on either side for either of us attacking each other, so it seems to have stopped on both parts. Whether or not that will continue, I don't know or care, but we're kind of now indifferent to each other. But doxing is something that I'm very staunchly against for obvious reasons, because I feel it's like bullying, basically, isn't it? That's the way I view it. It's just wrong. But we are subject to this in Flat Earth. We have an arena that it generates so much hatred that people feel the need to attack people personally on a level that will literally involve physical contact. And I bring it up because this show's about a meet. It's about doing the very opposite. Going out into the public and saying, no, this is me. However you describe it. Not wearing your heart on your sleeve, but you know what I mean. Out exposed. That's the one. So, as opposed to having it foisted upon you by some arsehole, which is kind of the antithesis of what I'm trying to achieve, which is a kind of bit of unity, hence the title Flat Earth United now. But I don't know, maybe any of you on the panel can speak to this. I'm sure you've all had this kind of crap. Maybe you too, Anthony, in the recent times of being a bit more prevalent on YouTube. Maybe if you can speak to it first, because you're the newest, if you know what I mean.
Well, oddly, Issa Mihalski's in chat right now, and Issa's view on the way to deal with these people, and I kind of agree with him, is let them in, don't block or ban them, let them speak if they choose to, let them disagree, and basically allow them to be, if they're going to be an idiot, just let them be an idiot, because really, what difference does it reflects more on them than it does on anybody else. Don't kick them, don't ban them, let them speak. Only if they start becoming crazy, then just mute them or whatever. But let them get because everybody wants a 2-minute moment of fame, and that's really what they really want at times.
I disagree. I do.
It depends
I think
on
the
who it
moment
is.
It does depend on who. But the way things are carried out, when you actually know, that can't go on. And the thing is they were really good for us for homing our debating skills. There's no denying that, that was years ago. And for people who get up first thing every morning for years just to go on about rubbish, globe rubbish, 7 celestial star trails or Cavendish or rubbish, I just can't dig it. It's just I don't really know what they're doing, and contriving to mess up people's hangouts to me seems a bit criminal.
Martin,
it really does. I wouldn't let them in mine.
Martin, let me put it into context for you, right? It doesn't matter how angry he is. It doesn't matter what he says. It doesn't matter how he behaves. He can't prove curve. He can't prove axial rotation, and he can't prove gravity. So what does it matter what he says, really?
That's exactly. So why let him near? Listen, it's just a bad energy. He keeps everyone down. I've had so many people who've refused to post. I would love to be able to post, but I'm frightened to come on there because of him. So that affects me in a personal thing, because I really want people to be able to come out, share their voice, and basically share their life.
Yeah, but
and if they won't, especially women, that to me, that's because of one person. I'll do what I can.
Don't you think it's better to rise above it and show the stronger, the better man?
Yeah, so I keep him away from my camp, so we don't mess with my shit.
There's nothing wrong with it. I don't disagree with what you do. My personal view is just talk to him like a normal person, and he'll talk to you back.
Done it.
I've talked very normally with Gem Panda, and he seems like a really nice guy.
He is a nice guy.
He doesn't troll me, and any of my, as far as I know, because I don't always watch my chats. Maybe he does troll my chats.
Gem's cool. I have no problem with Gem.
He's like a gentleman, but then
he told me I should be lynched this week. So
there you go. So
yeah, but it's weird doing it. Just don't tell Gem that the moon landings weren't real, and you're fine.
So
I want everybody, even on I've gone through periods of time where I've had keywords in my videos so that if you'd say keywords in chats, you'd be blocked. Those words were lots of profanity and CIA and shill and whatever the accusation du jour was, I'd put that in there. And so people who said those things to each other would get blocked. Then I stopped doing that and eventually went with no moderators, nobody banned. Then I started banning different people, and then I got moderators, and then I shut down all of my comments for a little while. Then I enabled my comments. I've gone through many phases, is what I'm trying to say, of how to deal with a YouTube channel. And I guess you've got to find what's comfortable for you. Mine are now set to approved only. And as long as there's not meanness in there and name calling in a comment or straight up profanity, like serious profanity, I enable the comment, even if it's about the globe. So yeah, I get those reams of cut and paste comments from our favorite flat earth trolls, and I let them put one per show. That's not going to change anyone's mind. And if it does, then they really weren't a flat earther anyway.
The way I see these people, sorry, I was just going to say, I see these people as very much around the campfire. So when it was the Leicester meet, I said, I'm out to Jeremy, please come. I would have loved him to have been there, actually, Martin. That was the only disappointment. I was gutted that he didn't come, I'll be honest, because having a proper commentary on what was there from Jeremy would have been awesome. I mean, truly awesome. I'd have loved it. Same thing applies now. I mean, if he wanted to come and have a picnic with us, that would be wonderful. I know it would be cordial. There wouldn't be any rows. It just wouldn't be like. I know it wouldn't.
Unless you brought up the moon, in which case it would rapidly descend into chaos.
He's welcome anytime, Jeremy. He knows that. Really is.
Do you know, it was funny with Jem the other night. We were having a discussion about the actual moon and the evidence that supports it. Because to be fair, I'd not seen a lot of the evidence that goes in favour of the moon landings. And Jeremy's doing a video on the moon landings with evidence. And if I'd never seen anything against the moon landings and I only saw his video in favour of it, it's dead persuasive. And I said that to him. It's really persuasive. I don't agree with it. I don't accept it. But nonetheless, it is persuasive. Anyway, we got into a debate or a disagreement, or it wasn't an argument, but he was arguing with somebody, and I said something, he said something back. And when he said something back, I didn't say a single word. I just started laughing, no smiling. It was like a Chester cat smile. And he went absolutely ballistic because he could see I was laughing at him. And he went mad. And in the end, I had to say to him, Jem, don't take it personal, man. You believe what you believe. I believe what I believe. None of us really know, let's be honest. I mean, it doesn't matter how much you think you know. We don't really know. Don't take it personal, but he can't help himself. If you diss the moon, he's going to go after you. He really is.
He should call himself Moon Panda.
Yeah. I think he's in chat with one of his aliases. Hi, Jem.
I like him. I've already said that.
I've just said, are you in the chat? I'd like to invite you. And I haven't got a response. If I can get in touch with him, I'll have him on. Let's chat to him.
I'll find him. I'm good at it.
I can get him. I'll send him a link. It depends
the thing about Jeremy is when he's respectful and does the normal stuff that I've seen him do, I think he's cool. And then other times he's done things, people have told me, I've not seen it, that are pretty bad, keep coming in with varying accounts and creating trouble. I mean, as long as he doesn't do that, it's just like me. I wouldn't be allowed in people's hangouts if I went in and started creating trouble. I'd be blocked just the same.
Nathan, can I send him a link? Do you want him to actually join?
Yeah, I meant it. Send him a link. I'd have sent him it by now if I had his actual direct details. I just haven't got Google Plus up because it goes beep, beep, beep all the time.
Wouldn't it be pretty funny if I just suddenly went mental, as you guys put it, or crazy, and started just trolling everybody and was going in chats and just became a whole different person? That would be crazy.
Well, do you know something, Patricia? I'd like to see you do something more, like a little bit more contentious now and again. Because you're too polite.
I am trying to, I mean, it is me that I'm polite, but I'm also trying to reach the broader audience by not being angry at some of the crazy things, accusations that have been made toward me.
I know, but it's okay if you swear once in a while. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm not really a swearer in real life.
I was going to say, that's just not what Patricia's like, even off camera when we chat like this. I wouldn't dream of saying, yeah, fucking right, those guys are complete arseholes, aren't they, Patricia? I wouldn't expect a sailor response from her. That's just not how she talks.
There's times when I wanted to just say, fuck off. But anyway,
Well-
Jem's on his way in anyway.
Yeah, it's true. There's certain people that have said and done things that I've not wanted to swear at, but people wanted me to react, and I didn't. And I'm very happy with my decision to not react, because it's the decision of not caring what other people say that's untrue about you, because you know who you are, and they can just say whatever they want. It's like what? Doesn't matter.
Jem is on his way in, by the way, hopefully. I think he's in.
Cool.
The other thing is, there's no need to. I mean, there's YouTube channels out there, nothing to do with Flat Earth, that will literally generate false fights amongst themselves in their own communities just to generate a buzz. And it doesn't so much happen for me, but certainly happens for Patricia. The amount of crazy nonsense that floats around her.
Honestly,
I just see it all as good advertising, and I say this over and over again. If someone gives me a shout out, even if it's really negative, I'm sure I did it today, in fact. So I went on auto suggests as it happens, it rolls up, and next thing you know, I'm watching a Tim Osmond video on the Del Weirdigan channel, whatever it's called, Dogmatic Del channel, and he's moaning about me, calling me Nathan Oakley, and I'm like, wicked, I've got to mention, thanks for the shout out, because I just see it as great advertising. People come along, Nathan Oakley exposed, feel free. Fanny Lancer cottoned onto this and did a kind of quasi piss take, really took it miles too far, and I just thought that was genius. I love that kind of stuff. Thanks for the adverts, all you haters, thank you so much for the adverts. And I know you don't see it the same way, Patricia, but I see it that way on your behalf.
Do you know what? Everyone says don't feed the trolls, but I actually enjoy giving it them out my hand like that and watching them go, because it's just fun. I enjoy it. It's entertaining.
Gets old though.
It does get old. It really does.
It
takes too much of your time. When you get the more subs you get, and when you lose all your time because you see into your millions of emails and comments, and you won't have time to be engaging with these trolls. You really won't, and getting into long, brainless, cyclical discussions with them. There's no point to it. Honestly, just see it for what it is, and you'll avoid it.
Yeah, you're right. There's only one or two trolls that I have time for.
Ben.
Shout outs to Sean Hufford. He's my number one troll. I will spend time with Sean. I've told him I actually like him. I don't agree with him on pretty much anything, but that doesn't mean I don't like the guy. He's one of the more intelligent people that can actually debate and discuss stuff, and I like that because it makes me actually think.
How did you hook up with Metabunk?
I just challenged him to explain his authority. I said, you're not telling the truth. I said, where's your authority for this standard refraction bollocks? And he basically said it's the stars. And I just didn't agree with him. I wanted to know more, but I didn't actually call him out on his stars, on his slowing down of the stars at the horizon thing, because I didn't actually want to look like an idiot. But I just contacted him and asked him.
We've got a new guest, so very pleased to have you here, Jeremy. I don't know who you've been introduced to. I assume you know Martin and Patricia. Have you spoken before with Jeremy personally? I don't know.
Yes,
we've met once.
Yes, we have. Not in real life, but.
Whose hangout is this? Am I in Nathan's hangout now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Hello, cool, AJ.
Are you sure about this, Nathan? This is terrible trouble.
No.
People will be unsubbing as we speak.
Don't care.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, we just had we were just talking about Sean Hufford, and I echo the same sentiments in regards to you, Jeremy. I've got pretty much no issue with you.
Fair enough.
Yeah, you've seen the title of Nathan's show, have you?
Well, I was watching it earlier, but then a few other things came on. So hang on, let me try and remember. It was UK Mixer, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I've invited you more times than I care to remember to various mixers, and you've always kind of, the last one I thought you were actually going to come.
Yeah, well, that was a possibility. Then I had that stupid car accident, didn't I? I was in a right state.
So are you going to come to one that's in July?
Is this in Blackpool?
No.
Yeah. Because Blackpool's a nightmare to get. Where are we going?
Leamington Spa.
Royal Leamington Spa.
Royal Leamington Spa.
Yeah, all right. I could give that a go.
And
I've
I'm
been-
going to probably, I haven't looked to see what tickets are going to cost and all of those bookings. I'm probably going to go. So
Are you coming over for a bath?
exactly. I'm gonna go to the real spa in Leamington Spa.
I fancy Warwick Castle and the Trebuchet. I got to be honest, Nathan. I'd really love to see that.
Oh, if you've not been Warwick Castle, I definitely recommend it.
Only pictures. Only pictures. I would
It's
love to go there.
It's a proper castle.
I know. I'm aware. I'm aware of how cool it is. Yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff in that part of the world, and it's a beautiful part of the world as well. Really, really would love to go. Can't wait. So hopefully, Jack, cool.
But enough formalities. We've got to keep it entertaining. So
Oh, yeah.
you're on the other side of the Flat Earth campfire, Jeremy. You're very much part of this community, and frankly, you talk about the community a lot more than many flat earthers do. So what I'm trying to drive at is, what's it like on that side of the campfire?
That's a good question.
It is.
Well, how can I put it? I guess, I mean, I think it's an interesting point you make, and I've made this point myself before, that I think I am part of the community. I think a lot of the community would probably hate that idea, but I think that myself and some others who are regulars are, you know, have to be considered part of the community. And it's interesting. I don't know. There's been some hairy moments as well. I mean, you guys, as much as that, all of you all know what I'm talking about in terms of how this community can turn on you. I guess
Yeah.
You know, it's you know. So there's all that going on as well. And I guess what I would say as well is there are times, if I'm being really, really honest, there are times when I'm kind of envious of that, what's the word, that sort of fellowship that you all have. And I think we have a little bit of that on our side of the fence, but I don't think it's quite the same. So I think that's a nice aspect to it that I can say. I'm going to get lynched when you'll be lynched.
Not for honesty, Jeremy.
The reason I'm asking
This is the end of our flat Earth career.
No, it's just I see that you've been. I see it, and I'm not trying to say I pity you in any way. That's not what I'm driving at. But you've been in a position where you've been forced to make a load of accounts, and there's been many an occasion where I've felt the same thing, and it's from fellow flat earthers. I'm not going to mention any names. I don't need to, but where I felt like, no, I want to go in and say my piece. And now I adopt a totally different attitude. I go, no, I don't want any part of that. If they don't want me there, I don't want to be there. You know what I mean? But you're in a different camp. You're not in a different camp. You're on a different side of the fire, and your group is smaller and is drowned out in what is often described as a circle jerk of flat Earth. And this is where I do absolutely agree with you. You know, without the detractors, the amount of nonsense that I would potentially be spurting if it wasn't for people like yourself, you know, it just doesn't bear thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. I think that you know, really, I don't think the flat Earth community can rely upon itself to keep itself in check on those, you know, those sort of facty type things. And I think you do need some of us here to you know, wave the scientific paper or whatever it may be at you and say, hold on a minute, that's not right. So, but at the same time, I kind of get it, because I think that how I see it is that it seemed to me that one of the first and still the most prominent person taking on flat earthers was Red's Rhetoric. And he had his sort of style of doing things, which we all know and love or hate. And that kind of set the bar for everyone else, if you like. It seemed to like give everyone else permission to finish every sentence to a flat earther with the word moron. And so I think that flat earthers are under fire, and I think they have so much of it all the time that when someone like me comes along and makes some, you know, probably a bit silly, quite juvenile remark, but that isn't really a banning offence, I still get banned, you know, because because, you know, whoever it is, they, oh God, here it comes, you know, let's get rid of this knob before it even starts, you know.
Well, I would never ban you, Jill, never have.
And I think sometimes as well, I come across a conversation and I think, well, who was it? Haunted House was on earlier, and he was chatting with Ace McLeod, and he said, oh, he invited me in. He said, come in. And I said, well, no, not really. So I'm just going to ruin the mood if I go in there. It's going to turn into an argument between me and Ace, or, you know, and it's just, you know, sometimes it's just nice just to sit and listen to people that you disagree with.
Yeah, regardless of regardless of the scientific debate, you're often the voice of reason in terms of social aspects of flat Earth. So recently, and I think you're having an effect. This is why I'm keen to talk to you. You spoke out about the nature of the IPS raids, and people pricked their ears up. You know, people went, oh yeah. Hadn't thought about it like that. And that was as a direct consequence of your criticism. And at the time, I was thinking the same thing and kind of naysaying from the chat. But at the same time, I loved it. You know, I was well into it. But it took someone like you to point it out. And now things have changed. You know, people are going in, they're still donating money, but it's not thumbsing down. You know, it's not telling them they're morons. And I've just said, I don't know if you noticed, I've just said in the side chat to Anthony, because you mentioned about Red's rhetoric, and I know Anthony's got a story.
It was I first met Reds. I first met Reds when I sent him a message on a comment on a video that he'd done, and it was a genuine question. It was literally, can you explain blah blah blah? And I got a link back. I got a watch blah 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 URL back, which I had no idea what this was. So I clicked it thinking it was the answer to the question that I was asking, and realized that I ended up in a chat with 5 or 6 Globers, and I had no idea what I was doing or how to conduct myself or whatever. And I had a microphone as I mic'd up, and literally I'd never met the guy before. I'd never met anybody in the chat before. And it was literally feeding time at the zoo. I was just thrown into the lion's den. To be fair to Reds, I mean, the jerk that he can be, he was a jerk. But the question that I asked, the one question I asked, I got answered. And the question I asked was, can you explain how this can possibly be if the ISS is real? And it was a photograph that I had on my phone that my friend on his telescope took of the ISS flying overhead. Okay. So I know it's a real photo. It's an authentic photo. And I went in there, and there was obviously somebody in there that actually had the 3D software that could actually get me the answer. And basically he managed to model, I mean, if this is like the ISS kind of thing, basically it's a compass, right? But it was in such an obscure position where you could never tell. It was kind of like that. You couldn't tell what it was.
Right.
How on earth can that possibly be the ISS? And somebody had got this 3D rendered model thing, spun it round in exactly the orientation that matched what I had on my phone, but for one little blob that was like stuck on the side of it. And I said, yeah, but what's that bit there? And it was the Soyuz on my own phone, my own evidence. And to be fair to Reds, it was classy because he got me the answer, and I was totally and utterly convinced that the ISS was probably real. So I then disappeared for ages, went totally radio silent. 6 months later, I resurfaced, realizing that the ISS wasn't real, not having an explanation for what is actually up there when we look up there, but thinking, it's whatever it is, it's good. And that was because of Red's rhetoric. It was his MO to attack rather than address. And I learned really quickly that you have to have your evidence, and that's why. That, to be fair, he kind of taught me that you can't just speak with rhetoric. You need to have evidence to back up your stuff, and don't make assertions that you don't know to be true unless somebody calls you out, because somebody may call you out on it. So essentially, Red's rhetoric was my learning curve in one respect, And I learned, shit, these guys are going to attack you if you speak out of line in any way, or if you say something, and you can't
They will
back it up.
tear you limb from limb, mate.
Yeah, and he did. And to be fair, he taught me pretty well. But on the other hand, I also realised that there are things that Red's Rhetoric simply does not know. He does not know, and he relies on his panel, and he can't do it one-on-one. That's why he has it with like 5 or 6. So I've sussed that guy out, and I have no problem with Reds in terms of his style. However, he can be nice. There's no reason for anybody, be it flat or ball. None of us have to be horrible, and that's the bit that lets him down. We're all human at the end of the day. Even if we're wrong, it doesn't mean that we're abnormally below human level. We're all human. We've all got feelings, and there's no reason for anybody to be rude or horrible for no reason. And that's the bit where he lets himself down, in my opinion.
I agree. Well said. Jeremy, I've got a question.
Can you just tell us how you came to be chatting to Red?
Who, me? Well, I was. What do you mean? The first time I ever met him?
Yeah, before we went live, you told us this. I thought it was very funny how you actually came in to be in his chatting to him live.
Well, I just sent it. I said there was a comment. There was a video, and I commented on his video, and I just said, "Can you answer this for me? How do you explain this?" And his answer back was just a link. So there was no explanation for it. It was just a neon sign saying, "Click me, and you're going to die." But I didn't know it was "you're going to die." I just thought it was the answer. So I clicked it, and it says, "You are about to engage in a hangout or whatever." Click the tick box, which I did. Joined in, and I had no idea what the hell I was doing. So I goes in there. There's 5 of us. Hal Soy was in there. Sean Hufford was in there. Red's Rhetoric was in there. A couple of others. And I walked in there not knowing anything, and it was literally feeding time at the zoo, and it was horrendous. But I suppose in one sense, it kind of taught me the worst it could possibly be. So everybody thereafter was nowhere near as aggressive, but it was interesting. It was a learning curve, and for 6 months I went radio silent because I didn't want to speak.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Baptism of fire. How awesome is that? Looking back, of course, at the time, I'm sure it was horrendous, but now I'm like jealous. It's like baptism of fire. That's the best way to do things. In at the deep end.
To be honest, one of the guys from that hangout I actually still debate with now, Sean. I don't agree with virtually anything he says. And we finally got to a common ground where we no longer have this personal vendetta against each other, which is a love to hate thing. He's now actually added me on Skype, and I've been asking him to add me so that we don't have to have this back and forth all the time on something that we don't agree on in comments for it to be blown out of all. Honestly, Sean, he really can dramatize the boiling of an egg. So when there's a to and fro, back and forth all the time on a conversation, it's just totally and utterly unavoidable. I mean, literally, I was away for the last few days, and for whatever weird Google-related reason, maybe 10 or 12 of his messages that normally go straight onto the chat ended up in the spam folder for some reason, and I have no explanation for why. I didn't put them there. I can't put them there. Sean kicked off with me and saying, "Oh, you've deleted my messages, you censorship, blah, blah, blah." It escalated into this big, massive hung-do thing. And I was away on a holiday, and I'm like, "What on earth are you on about? You deleted my messages." I said, "No, I haven't. I haven't deleted your messages. Why would I delete your messages?" And it just got into this big, massive deal, and it was all about nothing. And in the end, I just said, "Look, Sean, add me on Skype. Let's just talk like normal human beings. We don't have to fall out." And he's finally done it. So now it just means that's going to save me about 10 videos for the rest of the year. So nice one, Sean. You saved me a load of time there now.
Good stuff. So I think we've probably come to the end, unless there's anything that needs rowing about. Well, now we've got Jem Panda on.
I wanted to ask Jeremy, Jem, in your group of people, like we have our group, Flat Earthers, are there particular people that you yourself are close to, and others that you yourself don't like in the Ball Earth promotion group, let's call it?
Right. Well, I mean, I wouldn't say there's really anyone I don't like, because I guess, I mean, I don't really spend that much time with those people anyway, really. I mean, we're kind of at the same places at the same time, but I don't really spend a lot of time. But Mark Taylor I talk to regularly, privately.
Really?
Yeah. Mark's the funniest guy on YouTube. He's absolutely hilarious. He would have you in stitches, honestly. I know he's pretty vitriolic in chat, but
he hates me. Mark Taylor hates me.
He's absolutely hilarious. Honestly, you would get on with him. You would. You would have a laugh together if this was off the table. And the other person is well, there's a few, I guess, but Tim more than anything. Tim Osman, I talk to a lot, and then Steve Antonios and who else? P Mars as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody loves P Mars.
But mostly Tim and Mark are the ones I talk to, kind of outside of Hangouts and stuff.
Yeah, I talked to Steve Antonios. He seems okay, and well, all of them actually.
Well, he's another very, very funny guy. It's just it took me about 6 months to realize he was funny and not annoying.
No, he's not annoying. No, he's funny. I know.
What you have to do is assume that everything he's saying is a joke or is leading to a joke.
I had a good night on your show with him. He was on one of your hangouts on discussions. A really funny time.
And occasionally you'll pick out odd moments of seriousness, but assume it's all a joke. Sorry, I've taken over a bit.
No, you're good.
No, I mean, I wanted to know who your pals are.
Yeah, they're my pals, really. Mark and Tim are me.
So have you got any friends on the flat side, though? I know you have, Jem. Come on, admit it.
Oh, well, well, who do I talk to?
Well, you're all right with Issa.
Yeah, I talk to Issa. I don't really talk to anyone privately. I mean, Cathexis I did quite a lot.
Where did he go? Does anyone know?
Yeah, he got doxed.
He's still around. He still pops in every now and then.
I've seen him. He's got a new avatar, completely new and a different name. But it's still cat.
He's okay, though.
Yeah,
he's fine.
cool, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, Cathexis there was. And I can't remember. There isn't really anyone else apart from yourself, Anthony. And
well, the pleasure is mine because I actually find you endearing. And that is the word I would use. You can be annoying and you lose your temper really easily. And then just mention the moon and he just goes.
I'm 52, mate. I'm old and curmudgeonly. I'm supposed to be like this now.
Do you know what? I think you deserve a plug for your video that's coming up. But because you've come on a panel with 4 flatties.
No, because I'm feeling the pressure now.
No, come on. Give your video a plug.
Mentioning it.
Just plug it away. Come on, tell us about your video.
All right. Well, I'm going to prove. No, I'm not going to prove. No.
Go ahead. You plug it, Jeremy. You plug it.
I'm going to show how I know that we landed on the moon, and I'm using a kind of a royal we there.
All right. Well, that's cool. I mean, we all want to see it.
Yeah, it's extensive and boring.
Does it involve?
Yeah,
Does it involve lasers?
Yes, it's got lasers in it, amongst other things, Patricia. I'm over 90 minutes long now, and it's quite heavy going, I have to admit. I don't know what I'm going to do to make it more entertaining, but
hey, but I'll tell you something though, Jem. By doing your own video, nobody will stop you from finishing because you will have the ability to finish.
That's it. Well, that's what I thought. I kind of found that sort of the hangout thing, the live hangout thing, I kind of felt like I'd taken it as far as I could go. There wasn't really any sort of new arguments. And I kind of thought my time was probably better spent. I get quite a lot of criticism for this, and I question my own motivations for what I'm doing, all the time. And so I thought I was probably better off trying to make some, decent quality content, or at least that I consider to be decent quality content. And
well,
I thought that might be a more effective way of me.
Well, like I said to you, was it private or it might have been in Isa's chat? It actually is quite persuasive.
Yeah,
it is. I'm not being
good to hear.
No, it is. I found it persuasive. If I'd come to it and I'd never seen anything about the flat Earth or otherwise, if someone said to me, "Watch that video on the moon," I'd have come away from that and I thought, yeah, I wouldn't have even questioned it. We went to the moon because you can see the buggy on the moon.
It's quite a challenge, you see, though, for you guys to sort of prove anything like that or establish a case for it to you guys, because you don't accept that space exists. So it's kind of quite hard to think to say a specific thing happened at a specific place in space. It's quite hard when people haven't even got to the, you know, the space bit yet, you know.
Well, I mean, we're going to wait for the documentary, and it sounds long enough to call it a documentary as opposed to a video. But what would be, from what you've researched thus far, your explanation of the Van Allen radiation belts, how they got through that, and why they can't do it now?
Right. Well, with Van Allen, I mean, I guess the important thing is that they're belts, and that is to say, it's like a very big donut with a small Earth in the middle, and so it's possible to fly around them, or at least fly around the more dangerous parts of it. And although there's radiation there, it's, you know, there's radiation on Earth. You know, bananas are radioactive. They contain potassium and it decays, and so they have a small amount of a radioactive decay rate. So, you know, we live with radiation all the time. It doesn't, not all of it kills us. So you've got the most lethal radiation is closest to the Earth and above the equator. Although, having said that, in very recent times, we've learned quite a lot more about Van Allen, and it's actually a lot more of it is moving around than was originally thought, and it changes quite a lot. But anyway, so for Apollo, basically what they did was they flew over the top of the donut as much as they could. And that meant that they were only exposed for about around about 90 minutes. They were flying through actual, you know, the more radioactive parts. And then they're in a spaceship. The spaceship's got, the hull is made of 3 layers of steel, 3 layers of aluminium, a layer of reinforced epoxy plastic, some of the layers of fibrous insulation and mylar and some things like that. And then they're in a 27-layer spacesuit as well, or they can be. They weren't wearing them all the time. So they've got, there's a fair amount of stuff there to protect them from radiation. Most of the radiation isn't dangerous. They're only exposed to it for a short period of time while they're passing through the belts, and then they're through it.
But no cancer or any other diseases that they say radioactivity can promote, not even a slight bit. I don't believe in any astronauts, not just Apollo ones. So why?
Well, I mean, I don't know about. I mean, I don't think you would necessarily expect it from any other astronauts, because their exposure isn't great either. But if you look at the exposure of the Apollo astronauts, they don't get a large exposure. It's equivalent to, I don't know, a couple of X-rays or something like that. It's not huge. They're wearing dosimeters all the way through. So, you know, we have a fairly good record of what's on those. They read them out from time to time and things like that. So, you know, it is recorded. And in actual fact, this is an interesting fact that your audience are going to love this one. Someone did this calculation on the radiation exposure that they received. And they actually calculated that if you were to travel the same journey to the moon with no spacecraft and no spacesuit, so naked, but somehow you were able to breathe, you still wouldn't die from the radiation. It would make you very sick, but it wouldn't really be enough to kill you usually.
What about a window? There's a window with that in Apollo, right? Wouldn't
there are windows? Yeah, they're I mean, they're pretty small, but yeah, there are windows. I mean, there can be some exposure, but it's limited. You can see what it is, and it's just not that big.
Okay, so how about in the old days when people used to have film, and I know some people still do, in cameras, and they would go through the airport, it would always say, there'd be a sign to say to remove your film before it would go through the X-ray machine because it would ruin it. If it can do that to film, what about to a human being? That's only for a couple seconds, not 90 minutes.
Yeah, but they're not receiving an X-ray. Like I say, in their entire journey there and back, they're receiving the equivalent, I think, of an X-ray, or maybe a couple of X-rays. It's a very limited amount of radiation. But I think really though, the thing is, I think with this argument is, I think you really have to take it at face value, because if you're going to say, because everything that we know about Van Allen, we know from NASA.
Right.
So, you know, you sort of, if you're saying, well, NASA tell me there's dangerous radiation in space, you've kind of got to accept their explanation for, you know, these are the more dangerous parts, we can fly over them, we can protect against it, and so on and so forth. But just to finish up, just to round this up quickly, I know you mentioned about doing it now, but I know that a lot of that we hear comes from this NASA video called Orion Trial by Fire, which was about the new Orion capsule. And they're talking about that capsule, and they're talking really specifically about the challenges that faces. And they are different challenges to what we had in the late 60s, early 70s. And the reason for that is that this radiation is essentially it's energized particles flying around in space. And in the circuit board of your computer are energized particles flying around the circuit board. So if the two should meet, then the computer won't know which energized particles it's supposed to be dealing with, and it will stop working.
Why don't they just use the technology that didn't have those energized particles in it in the control board of the new Orion that they're going to send out, akin to what they used for Apollo?
Right, but with Apollo, you'd got really the beginnings of a computer. And really, I think for us now, you know, what you'd want to do is protect your computers against the radiation rather than do without your computer. And with Apollo, the computer was made specifically for that mission. And what made it really really unique was the fact that unlike like where your computer, you know, you go on the computer and then you load an application and run the application. The applications were actually hardware. They were actually woven pieces of wires that were woven through loops and on the outside of loops to make a 0 and a 1. And that's how they created the actual software. That was the software. It was hardware. And you wouldn't want to do that again with a modern system. And the other thing with Orion is it's ultimately the aim is that it will be part of a bigger spacecraft that will go to Mars. And so its minimum time in space would be 9 months and more likely to be like 3 years, and opposed to Apollo, which is a week-long trip there and back. So it's a very, very different sort of mission that they face now.
I have two last questions.
Sure, hit me.
My second question is more of a funny one, but my first question is, what would it take? We're always asked this, flat earthers. What would it take to make you say, oh my God, we never went to the moon, or the earth is flat? What piece of evidence or pieces of evidence, the key things, would you have to see that you're not seeing now?
Oh gosh, and the moon, that's a difficult one. I mean, I don't know really. The thing is with the moon is this, you see, the evidence now is kind of spread out. You know, you've got all sorts of, I won't go into it, but you've got all sorts of science that, you know, sort of all, you know, a multitude of scientists have taken part in, which tells us that the moon landings had to have happened. Rock samples, laser range finding, these sort of things. I understand there are objections out there to these things, but when you look at them in detail, so, you know, even if, say, for instance, you know, Buzz Aldrin was to come out and say, look, I'm sorry, guys, it was all a big con, you know, I have to say, I'd be saying, well, maybe Buzz Aldrin's gone mad, or do you know what I mean? I know that sounds terrible, but just it sounds like awful confirmation bias, and it probably is at least to some degree. But given all this other evidence, you know what I mean? You'd have to be saying, well, how come how it doesn't add up with all these other people? How have they all been wrong or fooled? It wouldn't quite make sense. But I don't know. So I guess I would need a few things it would be the answer. And then, you know, one or two things. If say, for instance, Buzz Aldrin said, look, guys, it's all a big hoax, and this is how we created those fake moon rocks. You know, this is the process that we went through. This is how we made it look like they cooled slowly with no water. That, you know, then maybe I would do it. You know, and he said that and we sent an unmanned thing that dumped some mirrors on the moon, and that's how we get the laser reflections. You know, so you know, maybe if there was one or two things. And as for the flat Earth, well, I mean, again, it would be, you know, a number of things would need to add up. But I would love the Earth to be flat. I really would. I think that would be awesome if it was. You know, if what you guys propose is, you know, if there was this day when this sort of day of epiphany, when everything changed, and you know, that would be cool. You know, it would.
What, and my last question, more of the funnier kind of trivial question is, will you ever show your face as opposed to the icon that you use? The icon seems to me to be a panda dressed up in a tiger costume.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of, yeah, that's about right. Yeah, I should do, really. You know, there's been a few times when I've been about to do it, you know, and then
how about now?
And then I've seen, like, you know, Jed Skeptic's face on the arse of a chicken on Poncho's hat, you know, and I thought, oh God, you know what? This is what's going to happen to me, you know.
But it's okay when that
happens. and then a lot of the time, you know, I look terrible.
Oh, Jen, you look at
my place is a mess, and you know what I mean. I think, God, you know, I'm so glad I don't do the whole camera thing.
Come on, Jen.
Well,
come on, Jen. Get your feet off.
You know,
you've got nice
place position. You obviously keep it clean and tidy. You know, you always look great. You know, I always look like a bag of shit in real life. You know,
all right. Well,
I have thought about it. In fact, I was thinking about asking you about, you know, what I could do to make myself look better on camera. What tips can you give me? Where should I put my lights? What makeup should I buy?
No makeup.
Be yourself, Jeremy. People love you for who you are in the end of the day. Just honest and yourself. That's all. Can't ask for anything more. We like you. We've never seen you. So say something.
Is there a way I can have fewer chins? I would like.
None of these things matter. No one's face is perfect. All of us have. All of us are imperfect in our looks.
But some faces are less perfect than others. You know?
Okay. Well, someday, hopefully, you will show yourself. So we'll be looking forward to that.
I will.
Documentary. So thanks.
Yeah, I might do it when I do the documentary.
Oh, okay.
That might get me viewers. You know.
You know what? It really would, actually.
Yeah, more viewers than the content of the documentary.
But I would rather it be right now on Nathan's show, so Nathan can get more viewers.
I don't actually. I have got a webcam here. I'm just looking at it. It's not actually plugged into anything.
Switch the webcam on. Switch the webcam on.
No. The problem has always been that the actual cable of the webcam doesn't reach the computer.
It's okay. I know. I'm just teasing, but it would be cool. Anyway, thanks.
Well, with a bit of luck, we'll see you in June. I mean, for anyone who's watching this that's hoping to have got to the conclusion of the title, we've figured out we will be meeting in Leamington Spa, Warwickshire in June on a given date.
No, we said July though, right?
Sorry, July.
Yes.
I meant July. I did mean July. But yeah, we will meet in July 2017. I will roll out the exact date once we figure that out in the next few days, and I'll just make a short video. I'll probably wander around Leamington and point out a few different places just to sell it, if that makes sense, and give the exact date then. I'm really grateful, Jeremy. You've been on the spot. I tried to subtly round it out to give you a get out so you didn't have to face the barrels of questions, but you've done very, very well. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much for inviting me. I really enjoyed it, and it's great to meet Patricia again because you know, she's my heroine.
It's been a real pleasure, and also I'd like to say a big thank you to Anthony. You've given us some great information as always. It's been a real pleasure having you on.
No worries, my friend.
And Martin, of course, it's going to be great to see you in my neck of the woods when we get this together and get the dates out there. It's going to be really wonderful.
I'm excited already, Nathan. I can't wait. You and Salik just show us these beautiful places in your beautiful town. Really excited. Anyway, God bless you all. Thank you for inviting me, Nathan.
It's been really good fun having you, Martin. And last but not least, Patricia Steer, thank you very much for being here. It's been really good to have you.
Thank you, Nathan. And it was nice to meet again with Jeremy Jem and, of course, Martin Liedtke and Anthony Riley's our first actual face-to-face meeting, virtually speaking. And hopefully in July, when we have the Leamington Spa meetup, I guess is what it's going to be called, we will meet in person. And Jem, hopefully you will be there unmasked.
Yeah. Panda suit.
Yeah, it'd be funny if you were wearing that panda, that tiger outfit over a panda. Anyway,
let's hope it doesn't change into some strange sex thing. That's not what we want. Definitely not.
I'm not a furry. No, it's okay.
That's the term furry. I've been trying to remember what it was for ages. That's what I thought it was. I thought it was a reference to being a furry.
It's a big furry community in Second Life, yeah, but I wasn't part of that.
No, fair enough. Or maybe it is, and it's just for another day.
Yeah.
Not. And with that, I'm going to say a massive thank you, last of all, to all of the people who have joined us live in the chat. It's been absolutely fantastic. You've been all very well behaved. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video once it's uploaded. Comment below. I've been Nathan Oakley. I will see you all in the next video.